Okay, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back after half term, and welcome back to your mask Fantastic Beast project. What we're going to do this half term is we're going to spend maybe 2, possibly 3 lessons just kind of finishing off the structure and painting this thing, so that you get to the point where you've got a pretty kind of solid outcome that you can be pleased with. And then the last 2 weeks of term, my plan at the moment is, depending on how you go, to just release you in that time to start kind of making little additions or alterations or adding detail to your design, to kind of give it over to you, having learned all of the different techniques and the processes and the ways of thinking three-dimensionally like this. The idea is to give you a little bit of freedom and time just to develop the thing and to take it into a direction which is unique to you. So before half term, we got to the point where the mask was kind of in this stage. So, you know, base layer, initial kind of superstructure on there, eyes that you made separately to begin with, and then just before half term I showed you how to create some kind of mouth type structure that goes on the front, and start thinking about adding all those things together and sticking them together. What we're going to do today is we're going to concentrate on the last kind of obvious thing really, which is these kind of gaps that you will have, particularly in the kind of mouth structure. So at the moment you've got these hollow spaces that we need to fill in. If you imagine that this example here, when this was kind of originally put together to begin with, it had a similar hole here, okay? So there is a kind of piece of card coming around the side like that, making the mouth structure, but this was all hollow. So what we need to do is to fill that in, okay, and try and blend it onto the main part of the head, like so. And this is a kind of process, this is a principle that you can repeat in different areas of the mask if you've got similar spaces that you want to fill in. So you're going to need some more of these little offcuts of stuff. Hopefully you've been kind of nailing the breakfast cereal over half term or something similar. I've still retained and kept all of the little small fragments that I have left over from the process so far. I'm going to be using those, but you may find that it's useful to have another box handy as well, just so you don't run out of card. And then obviously you're going to need your trusty gum tape as well. So this is how this works. In the example that I am making, I've got this kind of beak shape here which goes to a little kind of V shape at the front like this. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to put strips of card across like this, okay, a series of them, so that all kind of fits in and blends in that way. So to begin with, I've got just a small little tab of card here. That's probably about the thickness of each strip, okay, you don't want to make them too thick. And what I've done is I've just held that up to there, and I've used a marker pen to just draw a couple of lines showing where I'm going to need to cut that to make it fit to the shape of my beak. So I'm just going to take that, just trim that like so. These things, they don't have to be it doesn't have to be a perfect fit, so don't worry too much if it's not absolutely dot on. But that's not bad actually, just a little trim off there. A little bit of gum tape, and we're going to start to stick this in place. A little bit on there, something up here, like so. A little bit on there like that. Just wrap that around. And you're going to want to make sure these bits are all pretty securely held in place. I was thinking, as I was just walking over to do this today, coming over from my house to the art centre, about what this is actually teaching you in terms of art and design. Because it's kind of important that whatever we do with you is giving you some kind of skills or something that just goes beyond an ability to make this mask, right? We're kind of trying to show you strategies for how to be creative, how to be an artist, I guess, in different forms. And part of kind of being a successful artist, I think, and part of making art which you feel fulfilled by is kind of to do with having done technically a really skillful job. You know, sometimes that is the thing that kind of makes you feel really great about what you've done, you know, that together with the fact that you're expressing something and, you know, it's imaginative. But the idea that you're doing something and you're taking time over it and you feel really proud and pleased with the result at the end is an important thing. And so a lot of what we're doing here is to try and teach you, I guess, the kind of how to persevere, how to be patient, how to kind of take your time and be thorough with processes so that things are kind of executed in a way that you feel really pleased about. Together with obviously how to think in 3 dimensions in this way. So that's my first piece, and you can see that's pretty well secured in place. I'm going to do the next piece. So here's another scrap of card. I'll just take you through kind of how this works. So like, first of all, just cut this to the right thickness. Cut that a bit off there just to get rid of those little gluey moments. Actually, we can use that, can't we? Yeah, let's use that piece. Okay, so here's my next piece. So I'm going to hold this on in place like this, and I'm going to just have a look at kind of where that, roughly where that needs to be. That's the tricky part really about this, is they're just kind of drawing the lines on and getting them in the right place. But as I say, if you're slightly off and it's not quite right, it's not the end of the world, because this stuff will bend and flex and be a little bit forgiving. So I'm going to stick this one in place in the same way that I did with the first, and then I'm going to carry on going like that until I've got all the way up here, and then we'll come back and have a look at the finished result in a moment. Alright, so I'm just going to pause for a moment with what I'm doing, just to show you a little bit of detail about what happens when this section starts to meet the kind of rounded form of the head here. You can see that I've got my different strips going across along here so far, sticking them to the sides as I have been, but then also pieces of tape across here so that each strip is stuck to the next to create like a sort of skin over all of them. And you will end up with this kind of sort of slightly angular quality to it, but that's completely fine, you know, that's okay, that's part of the style of what we're doing, I guess. So here is my piece. This is the last piece before I get to actually having to work my way around the head bit here. So a couple of little notes on this. First of all, it's really important, you know, don't be afraid to kind of get hold of the thing, you know, get your hand kind of right inside so you can apply pressure onto the back of the surface as you're sticking the tape down. That sort of thing is really important. So the more you kind of get sort of hands-on, you know, really kind of holding the thing and sort of sculpting it and modelling it in this way, the better, really. So just a little bit. You can see here at the side as well, I don't know whether you can see that, it's just started to kind of like foul onto the kind of the eyepiece that I put on. So what I've done is I'm just going to actually start sticking onto here now as I go up. Might not have to do the same at this side. And depending on the exact shape of your mask, you will come across little issues and snags and things like this. So just take your time, think about what the best solution is going to be, and work your way through it like that. So you're kind of solving those problems as they present themselves. So the next bit then is what happens up here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and cut some kind of curved shapes, if you like, to fit into here. So again, get my marker pen, and let's have a look. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do actually, if I just put one more kind of piece in there, but I'm going to try and cut a sort of bit of a curve like this time. Let's just see how that works. So trim, kind of cut this out. Yeah, I think that's probably gonna do it actually. I think that's pretty good. A little bit of a gap down the side here, but that's not such a problem. So that will be the next piece. And then what I'll be doing is I'll be using pieces of tape then to kind of go over the top of that to kind of sort of start filling in and blending in this whole structure down onto the top here. So that is going to just finish that bit off. So I'm just going to do that now and then come back and show you what it looks like in the end. Okay, so yeah, here we go then. So you can see here that I've blended the top of that kind of front beak piece into the main kind of cap of the head here. When I was working away, actually, I did end up using a couple of little kind of scrappy fragments of card like this, just as small kind of pieces just in here to just help get a sort of slightly smoother surface as that thing blends into there. So underneath here there are a few little kind of irregularly shaped pieces of card like this that I just used to help blend that shape. I've also, underneath here, I've done the same at the bottom. Okay, so that's exactly the same process, just filling that in so we can't see through the bottom part of the beak. And then the other thing that I'm just doing at the moment here is I'm just adding on a kind of piece, whoops, a piece around the back like that, just so that it sort of shields the back of the wearer's head slightly and it's not kind of too obvious. You know, you can't see the hair of the wearer and that sort of thing. Notice how, as I'm putting this back piece on, I'm putting it on at a slight kind of angle sticking out like this. It's not tight down the back of the head. Reason for that is I still want to be able to make sure that the person can get their head in and put it on. So this is really just almost like a sort of cowl type covering at the back. Nothing too tight in towards the shape of the mask. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put another piece of card in there, something like that, and same at the other side. And initially I'm just going to leave all these loose bits hanging here. I can always add other detail and stuff to those later on in the process. So I'm just going to fix this piece in place this side and the one at the other side as well, and then we'll come back and just have a look at it at the end of today's lesson. Alright, so yeah, here we have it. This is the kind of the sculptural form pretty much complete and ready to now start painting and colouring and adding all the details and things. So just a little recap then. We filled in the top of the beak here with these little parallel strips, a couple more sort of curved pieces and a couple of smaller pieces just used here to blend that into the top of that superstructure. Underneath here, exactly the same process here on the beak, on the underside, and then just a kind of like a bit of a skirt, if you like, around the back of the head here, just kind of stuck on, protruding out in this direction here, just to allow us to be able to get the head or the mask on and off. If you've decided, I'm looking on Padlet, I see quite a few people have gone for that sort of bird beak type form. If you've decided to go for something slightly more like the dragon, which I originally showed you, just to show kind of how that works with this one. Once again, the top's been sort of blended on in this way. These extra details, the nostrils and the horns and things, have just been added later. Underneath here, that little area there has been filled in the same fashion as the underside of the beak. And then again, there's a kind of a piece that goes sort of around the back, enclosing the back in that way, and that's been blended onto the top of the mask in a slightly different way in this, but the principle is the same, still leaving room to be able to get the mask on and off. So there you have it. That is the kind of basic structure there, complete. So next week's lesson, I'm going to be starting to talk about how to kind of add sort of detail and things of that sort. It's going to be helpful if next week you've got some kind of paintbrush handy. So this is a little kind of advanced warning. Doesn't have to be a particularly fancy brush. It can be kind of an old decorating brush or something of that sort. It doesn't need to be a fine artist paintbrush in any way, but just so that you are aware that that's something you might need, and if you've got the opportunity to go and get one, if you haven't got one already, then that would be really useful. So yeah, that's it. Have fun. Like I say, welcome back, and yeah, hope you enjoyed working on that this week. As always, don't forget to post images of your work in progress, and make sure you ask plenty of questions of your teachers in your live lessons if you need any help for your particular project. So good luck, and we'll see you next week.